Hello, welcome back to another edition of the I Am Always Right Sports Podcast. I am your host, as always, the mouth of Michigan, Rob Mendyke. With me, as always, my co-host, the Merkzone.
Yes.
Missing in action once again. That's ridiculous, dude.
He is at church today.
Oh.
So he's praising the Lord while we're over here recording.
He could have went to church early like you did.
He doesn't wake up that early.
He could have.
He's sore. We played rec basketball yesterday.
I know. I missed
he is a sore man.
I was at my dad's helping build his house. I was pretty bummed out that I couldn't join, but rain check for sure. But all right, Mike, we have so much to go over today. I say that every week, but this weekend especially, we got a hard 4 topics this week. We got to break down the Super Bowl, right? I know we're kind of late to the party, but when we record our shows, right, it just wasn't feasible for us to do it. And then we've got the XFL debuts, right? We've got the Andre Drummond trade, and we've got, of course, another Merkzone Mock Draft with some surprises that you told me. So we've got a lot of big things coming up, and a lot of different things that all kind of revolve around, whether you're a Detroit sports team or what have you. But let's just start off right at the bat. Super Bowl, Chiefs, Niners. Chiefs get the W, 31-21, 31-20 or 31-21? 31-20, right? 31-20 Mahomes MVP, whether that's rightful or not, it's whatever. But I think the big story coming out of this game is the Niners really blowing it, right? I think that's the big thing I think that everyone's talking about is that, Kyle Shanahan once again dropping the ball where you just go, I don't know what the hell just happened, right? You're up by 10, middle of the fourth quarter. You just got an interception. All you got to do is run the ball. All you got to do is run the football. And you're the best at doing it, and yet you drop the ball, and you try to throw the football. So, Mike, just give me your overall impressions of what, after watching the game, what did you leave and just go, I don't understand what just happened, or are you just like, what is your biggest takeaway from the game?
I guess we can look at a lot of things, but it's more of why, when you have such an efficient running game, do you switch over to let's pass the ball? And you see it twice in 4 years, because you see it when Atlanta did it against New England, where you have an 8-point lead, the ball's at the 20-yard line, all you have to do is run the clock out, kick a field goal, and you're Super Bowl champs.
Right.
And yet you're like, let me just pass it into the end zone to have the ability to get a sack or an interception to lose the game slowly.
Throw caution to the wind.
Yeah. Like you're entrusting Jimmy Garoppolo, who is the weaker part of your team. Not to say that he's bad or anything, but he is definitely, when you compare the whole team, the weakest part of the team.
Oh yeah.
To just go, okay, we're going to give you the keys here, take us to the promised land when you're already up 11, and you can just run the clock out at that point. I think it's kind of idiotic, and I think it's going to be one of those haunting factors over him.
And I think the biggest thing too is about that, and this is why I look at San Francisco, and this is a team I feel like, and we talked about this a little bit on our Quick Hitter episode 7 when we previewed the game, where we said that this was kind of a weird time for the NFL in the way that the playoffs kind of shook out, right? Kansas City did not have to play Baltimore or New England to get to the Super Bowl, right? They had to play Houston and Tennessee. The Niners, same thing, right? They didn't have to play Seattle and New Orleans. They played Green Bay and Minnesota. Those kind of, it never shakes out like that. We never see that happen where we see major upsets throughout a wild card and divisional rounds. You know what I mean? We've never seen that before in such a long time. So the team like the Niners, where you're going to have Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner, right? You're going to have to pay one of those guys, which means one of them is leaving. You could possibly be losing both your starting safeties. You could be possibly losing one of your cornerbacks this year. Jason Verrett, another guy, he was on a 1-year deal. You could possibly be losing Joe Staley. Emmanuel Sanders is a free agent this year. There's a lot of different pieces, especially with the Niner team, in a division where you have Seattle, where you have the Rams, who potentially could be back, right? You never know. And you've also got an Arizona team that is trying to rebuild, thinks they have their quarterback. They may only be a couple pieces away from being a contender again. The division is so highly contested. I just felt like this was the year for the Niners, that they were going to get it done. You kind of share my sentiment there?
Yeah, because I don't know how many times, truthfully, you'll go through Seattle and just
just skirt around them. They were 1 yard away from not being the number 1 seed. Yeah, it was that close.
Yes, and it's just those factors of Seattle beat you once and then you're a yard away. Like, you have to play Russell Wilson twice.
Yeah, no matter what.
No matter what.
Right.
So I don't, and especially after how their rivalry is, they might be the opening game next year, like because they usually pick one of the hotter rivalries and have them do like a
Packers Bears, something like that,
or Patriots Chiefs were the one a couple years ago. So they might start the season off with that. So do you want to start the season off against Russell Wilson and then probably end it with Russell Wilson, trying to fight the division? I wouldn't.
Right.
Arizona's tough. You have Kyler Murray running around, and if they get Jerry Jeudy, that's going to be a tough outing. And then the Rams. So it's going to be a tough position.
Plus or minus time, really, depending on what you hear.
I think for long-term success, you look at Kansas City and you go, you got the Raiders. They're good.
Not great.
Good, not great. Right. You have the Chargers, who don't really have a quarterback right now, so what are they?
Yeah.
And then the
Denver's
Broncos are rebuilding with a quarterback they think is there and a defense they think is there, but nothing's really there. And Kansas City's like, we're just going to go 13-3 every year now.
Right.
So with how easy and hard the divisions are, I think it had to be the 49ers year.
Yeah, right. And you know what's funny is when we previewed the game, you really did sell me on I still picked the Chiefs just because I can't go on the Garoppolo train, but you really had me contemplate. I was like, man, you look at it and you go, offensive line, defensive line, secondaries, everything except for quarterback and maybe coaching, just depending on your experience level, right? You could say was in the Niners' favor. Everything. Running back, receivers, I think is a toss-up just based off how they're used and the schemes that they're put in. But I mean, outside of Mahomes versus Garoppolo, and then maybe Andy Reid / Eric Bellamy and Kyle Shanahan, you go, man, it's really looking towards the Niners. So the fact that they had such a lead and they went away from it, where do the Niners go from here? We just talked about all the things that they could possibly lose. They're still going to be a favorite next year. I mean, you just look at the running game is there. You have a lot of young pieces still. Garoppolo's, I don't think Garoppolo's going to get any better necessarily, but I think he is what he is, and they can win with that. Running backs are young. They're going to have to pay them at some point, you'd think. The defensive line, for the most part, still pretty young. Yeah. You've got some pieces defensively still. I mean, what is their future outlook going forward? I mean, what is, are you, if you're a Niners fan, are you scared? Are you excited for the future? Or are you like, I don't know?
I mean, for the immediate future, as in the upcoming season, you have a relatively easy schedule going through.
For sure.
They do have to play all the 1 seeds. Seattle gets the 2 seeds, but you get the AFC East and then the NFC South, which have the bottom 2 in the NFC South a week, and usually the bottom 3 in the AFC a week. And you even know what the Patriots are going to be,
because
they weren't very good last year. Right. So I don't know if they fall off a cliff here or whatever.
Or they just give Brady a whole bunch of weapons and then they're back to being what they are again.
So no one really knows what they are, and then you usually know what Miami, the Jets, and the Bills normally are. They're just either good or less and solid teams sometimes. So I think the Niners are still the second best team in that division, behind Seattle, only because Russell Wilson can pull off some stuff happening. Right. So I think that with that, I think the 49ers can make it back, because I also think the NFC is kind of top heavy, but very top 14.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot. It's very crowded. Right at the very tippy top. Yeah. And then there's a whole bunch of just average.
Yeah. I think the 49ers. I think the only teams that beat out the 49ers are probably the Saints, Seahawks, and Vikings or Packers, maybe.
I don't even say that, honestly. I don't see this team in the NFC.
There's there's 3 teams. So if anything, I think you can slide into the wild card very easily.
Oh yeah.
So I think
you're right on the money. I think it's Seattle, San Francisco, and New Orleans. But even New Orleans has shown the propensity to be like the ultimate regular season team. Yeah. And then completely blow it every single year.
I don't really know who else is there besides them 2 fighting.
Those are it. I think those are it. So there's a team in the NFC worth the consideration of they're there. Yeah, they're not there.
So I think the 49ers, at least in the immediate future with their schedule and how the NFC is looking right now, I think it's a very plausible chance that they can get back and possibly even repeat making it to the Super Bowl again.
Yeah. With that running game, as long as it stays there, that's their bread and butter. They just can't get away from it. That's the biggest thing. Now let's talk about the Chiefs. Outplayed, I would say, for the first 3 quarters of the game. I mean, their offense didn't look what it was really. I think they ran the ball more than I've ever seen them run the ball. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mahomes was kept in check. At one point, his stat line was gross, 0-2 interception to touchdown ratio. And you look at it and you just go, it just seemed like Mahomes wasn't going to get through it. And then the big fourth quarter happens, 21 answered points. They're there. He's MVP. Give me your outlook for the Chiefs. Andy Reid finally gets his first Super Bowl. The monkey's off their back kind of thing, where I feel like this team also was in a similar situation. Not necessarily that they couldn't get back, but it's like, all right, we're never going to have an easier road to the Super Bowl than this year. We didn't have to play Baltimore.
I think they're hitting a Patriot-esque division.
Right now the division's terrible.
So I think that even I always look at shots at the dartboard, and I think that even if they're not going to make the Super Bowl every year,
they'll be there. They'll be in the conversation.
They'll be AFC Championship game, at worst AFC divisional game every single year for the next 10 or 15 years. And with all those shots, some things are going to go your way, and they'll probably make the Super Bowl 3 out of the next 10 years. I would say you probably get Baltimore a few times in there with Lamar Jackson, how that goes. Patriots might make it there again or something, and then possibly the Texans, that they can pull out a run maybe or something. But I think it's Kansas City and Baltimore in the foreseeable future for the next couple years.
Young quarterbacks, a different way of doing things, right? No one really has figured out the offensive scheme now for 2 straight years. It's kind of one of those things where you go, you kind of feel that, right? Are you concerned at all with the outlook of Kansas City being, okay, you're going to pay Mahomes $1 bajillion, right? That not so much cap space, because I'm very much, if you need to sign a guy, you can make the cap work. That's not my point. But my point being is that you're gonna you've already paid Tyreek Hill once. You're probably gonna pay him again. They've already pretty much said they're probably not gonna keep Sammy Watkins, right? Yeah. That's your number 2. You got Kelsey still there. The offensive line ain't getting younger by any means, right? I think you need a fixture at left tackle. I don't think Eric Fisher's the guy there, but the defensive side of the ball, you don't really you signed a big money contract with Tyrann Mathieu, right? You've got Frank Clark on the edge, right? You've got who's their nose to? Who's their Chris Jones, right? But then after that, you got a whole bunch of average after that, right? Are you concerned at all that the priority is still always going to be the offense, where you're just going to hope to piece together with maybe a highlight or two somewhere else in that secondary where you go, all right, we just got to make the most overpowered offense we can and invest all the resources there? Or do you sense a change in philosophy? You go, okay, we have Mahomes, right? This offense is what brings us to the dance. But if we can have a defense play over their head like they did in the Super Bowl, where you go, all right, just don't give up the big play and we can win a championship. Do you see that happening, or do you think it's still going to be all chips to the center? It's Mahomes, everything to set up Mahomes.
This team is set up very interestingly, where I think they can almost do what the Patriots do in a way where they have Mahomes, so you have your guy now for the next 12 years or whatever. Right. So now I think that you don't have Sammy Watkins. Okay, let's just draft a 4th-round guy who runs really fast, and that's because their skill set isn't like how you're oh, we need this big 6'6" receiver here, and we need a small slot receiver here, and then
it's all about space.
It's all just about space and speed. So I think you can find that just about anywhere. Yeah. So I think what their game plan is, and I think it works very well, is you have Mahomes, you can put up 30 if you have to. Yeah. So the defense can go bend but don't break as much as possible. And if you let up 21, 28 points, hopefully Kansas City can put 31 on you, and that's how you win games. Right. Just outscore them. Right. So I don't think you really have to invest a lot in your defense. I just think you need a good enough defense to hold 28 points. Right. Which is a lot, but I think
for sure.
For an offense like that,
do you think a guy, do you think that they would do anything, where are you concerned that Mahomes, because he makes the world go round in that field, right? Are you concerned that the Chiefs at some point will run into the similar situation like the Rams are this past season, where it's all right, your offense kind of got figured out a little bit. Now, I'm not comparing Goff to Mahomes. Yeah. Those are 2 different levels of ability, right? Clearly. But the Rams there for a while, they were averaging 34 points a game. You know what I mean? Gurley was on top of the world. They were in the Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. And then obviously it's Super Bowl, they lost all the pieces and now they're just, they're an average team. Are you concerned at all with teams going, all right, because there was a little bit of a lull there at the beginning of the season. Right after they played Detroit, it felt like, all right, everyone kind of did the same thing the Lions did with some better success. The Colts beat them. They had a couple, Mahomes went down, obviously. But are you concerned at all with people going, all right, there's enough tape where how much more creative can they get? Or are you just it's Andy Reid, it's different.
It's tough because I think the difference with the Rams is I think run-heavy teams have a lot harder chance at being long-term successful because it's easier to stop the run than stop the pass.
Absolutely.
When you stop the run, you go, let's just put 8 guys in the box and have our 2 good corners on their receivers and go Goff make those throws. Where I think Kansas City can go 5 wide with guys like Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, and Pringle. And you have all of this speed everywhere, and you don't have that speed, and you go, okay, you're going to sit back for 12 seconds in the pocket, make a read, and throw the ball. It's kind of what Russell Wilson does, except they have a good running game also. But it's like when they need to, down in the fourth quarter by 7, they go, okay, Russell, you're going to go 5 wide. You got Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and just run routes and do stuff and run around in the pocket and find somebody. And that's something that's very hard to stop, is the guy running around in the pocket for 12 seconds and throwing. Because as we're Lions fans, we know Aaron Rodgers can just sit back for 8 seconds and find somebody.
You get the best coach in the world, but if you're not getting any pressure anywhere, you just at some point someone's going to be open.
I think that they're going to have I think they're going to have more success than the Rams. One, because their division's a lot easier. So I think they have 5 wins in their division right now next year instead of the Rams probably having 2 to 3 wins with how tough theirs is. But I just think that throwing the ball, if you have a very good passing game, can overlook the run game. Because in the run game, you just go, put 8 guys there in the box, and what are you going to do? You can't really do much after that. But passing game, you can spread people out and route combinations, and it gets crazy. It's very hard to stop.
For sure, absolutely. All right, let's shift now. Let's shift from the NFL, and let's talk XFL here for the next 8 or 9 minutes here, because I really want to talk about this, because the debut of the XFL happened as of this recording Saturday. You'll see more games on Sunday, obviously. But the biggest thing, it's a completely different presentation, I would say, 100%. I think, and I'm not gonna be one to be Super Bowl, but I loved it. I really enjoyed the presentation of the XFL. I thought they did a really nice job of allowing the fan to feel so much more immersed within the game, right? You felt like you were hearing calls, you were hearing all this stuff with the live mics, with the coaches, with the players, the interview stuff with the players, seeing what's going on at the adjustments at halftime, hearing coaches go, listen, they're going to run a lot more screens, and then you go to the locker room and goes, hey, screen game's working, we're going to keep running screens, you know what I mean? Like, to be able to see those adjustments being made on the fly, hearing coaches after big plays go, hey, great job, or wow, we got really lucky on that, great job, and those kinds of things really, really, really made it for a fun experience, I think, for the fan. What is your takeaway from the opening weekend?
Oh, I loved just about every second of the first game. I missed the second game. I actually watched it on replay. But everything from the kickoff looks beautiful. Like,
there's some setup. I feel like there's going to be some more creativity as the time goes on.
I'm interested to see how many kick return touchdowns you'll get from that, because it looks very hard for how close they are.
Yeah, because you're just like, I gotta hope there's a hole somewhere.
You gotta open up a hole somewhere, but then you have guys moving backwards, so it's like you have to. It's weird. So I don't know how many kick returns you're gonna get, but you'll definitely get kick return every single time they kick the ball, which is very nice.
The potential of a touchdown.
I think the games get more interesting, especially if you find the team that you're rooting for, because you're down 8 points or 7 points or something.
You never really feel like you're out of it.
Yeah, because you can be down 12 and you're only down. You can get the touchdown, a 3-point conversion, and then you kick a field goal. You're back in it. But even when you're down 7 in the NFL, you score a touchdown. It's like, okay, so now we just tied the game going to overtime before the extra points even kicked. Now it's like, okay, what play are we going to run to get this 2-point conversion or 3 to win the game, or even just to tie the game? It's not just a gimme anymore. So everything just keeps the game exciting. The players are good enough to make the game very fun to watch.
Let's talk about that real quick, because I think that is a fundamental difference between when we talk about the AAF and this, is that I do feel there is enough former NFL talent that you can kind of pinpoint. The DC game, Eli Rogers sticks out because he was a Pittsburgh Steeler for a while there. Cardale Jones was up. There are guys in this league that you can point to and go, oh, I remember him, right? And I can't believe he's still around, right? On Sunday we're gonna see the Landry Jones, right? Or for Dallas or whatever, right? You're gonna see guys like Robert Turbin for St. Louis, right? Or you've seen guys where you go, I remember he was on Pittsburgh, he was in Seattle, or oh my gosh, he used to play for Lions, remember him, or whatever the case may be. I think there's just enough of that. I didn't think the gameplay was overly I didn't think it was a major step. Clearly, it's a step down from the NFL, right? But I didn't think it was so much of a step down where you go, wow, we're definitely watching semi-professional football.
Yeah.
I still felt like you've got enough oomph in there. I feel like you have enough NFL coaches, that have NFL coaching experience where you go, this could work.
Yeah.
I legitimately think this could work.
I think this opening weekend did a good job of pitting, I think they just got really lucky with the draft.
Yeah.
But you pitted a team with Cardell Jones against a newer guy.
Yeah, right.
So now you're building this newer guy because you don't no one really knew who the Dragons.
Sounds like you're talking about wrestling, doesn't it?
It does.
We have the established guy. We're gonna build this guy over here.
But it was because you have Cardell Jones who won a national championship 5 years ago.
Right.
So when you hear Cardell Jones or Landry Jones or whatever it is, you're like, oh, that rings a bell. I remember listening about this guy, and then the Dragons quarterback was what's his name again? Who was he? But when you're watching, you're like, okay, so when they're on offense, I can watch him. Now I have this new guy I'm watching and see how that works out.
Exactly.
So it gives you intrigue to go into the game to watch it.
Yep.
And then also it's but I'm also learning this new guy and how he runs his offense and everything.
Exactly.
So it was a good mix of that. Mm-hmm. I love the interviews in between plays and coaches, and you can hear the coaches.
You can see them on the field. They had a pick. I think DC had a pick 6, and then you see the reporter trying to get words with the guy. Right. Of course, they have no idea who the hell she is, but I just thought it was funny. They are really trying to make the viewer feel like you're right here. You're right here. You hear the calls going into the huddle, and then you hear them talking to the receivers, and you hear coaches talk, and then you hear the quarterback calling out the plays and all stuff I really, really thought that it was one of the... I mean, it was different. Don't get me wrong, right? And that may be one of the things where you just feel like, man, that was just different. That was fun. You know what I mean? But I also just kind of felt like it just... I don't know. I just feel like there's things that the NFL... I feel like if you heard that going into a play, if you're watching a Lions game, you go, why the hell are they running it on 3rd and 15? Or like that. And you go, hey, we got to play it safe here. We got 8 minutes. We'll get the ball back. And, if you heard some of the coach's logic or something like that, I feel like that would... kind of clear up some of the mystery sometimes of why in the world did they run a screen there? You know what I mean? Or what are they doing? Or why are they not throwing the ball in this? Whatever the case may be, right? In the Super Bowl, how much better if you're a Niners fan do you go, instead of running the ball 3 straight times, to kill some clock for Shannon, go, hey, listen, we got to go for the dagger right now. They're putting 8 in the box. We got man-to-man coverage. Let's go take a shot right here. If you heard that kind of rationale, I feel like as a Niners fan, you go, I get it. You may not be happy with the decision, but at least you could then understand it and go, I understand where their mindset was. I don't agree with it, but at least I understand. You know what I mean? And having that viewpoint. I mean, what did you think? The only thing I think the NFL or the XFL didn't achieve was the games didn't go much faster. It was still around 3 hours per game. I know that was something that Vince McMahon tried to emphasize, was that they tried to make the games a little bit faster, shorter half times, but it still felt like a normal NFL amount of game. I didn't really feel like it went a lot faster than normal.
They had to get some time to really to get with the receiver, quarterback to receiver, because I think their thing was every play is going to be some big bomb play and everything. Yeah, it wasn't like that. But I don't think the quarterbacks are comfortable with this receivers enough to really air it out more than what they were doing. Yeah. So I think it's going to take some time to really get all of that situated and get the gameplay going, because I feel like when the gameplay feels more crisp and the receivers are more on target and the quarterbacks are throwing better and stuff.
If there's a season 2, I think the play will be better than season 1.
Yes, absolutely. So I do think there will be at least a season 2, if not longer.
And I honestly think too, I think there was just enough scoring, at least from the first 2 games that we were able to watch, right? Is that I thought at one point it was 12 to 13 or something like that, which is weird to think that's the score, but I also felt like there was enough scoring to make it feel like, all right, any team, you're still in it, but not so much scoring where I'm like, man, there is no defense at all in this arena, because I think that was a concern for some. It's man, they're just going to try to, just throw it 1,000,000 yards and this is going to get hokey, right? There does need to feel like some semblance of defense is being played out there where the defense can go make plays or like that. But as we saw, defensive touchdowns happen, right? We had a couple pick sixes, we had a blocked punt recovered for a touchdown. There were things happening where you go, all right, all 3 phases are playing a part in this, which is what you wanted, especially from an opening weekend. I don't think they could have asked for a better opening weekend than what they had. I really don't. I think it came off well. There wasn't a lot of technical issues. I really think they hit it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it was. I really hope there's more. As long as St. Louis Battlehawks aren't go 0-10, we're gonna come on next week. But the XFL sucks. No.
Yes. They need to win.
Yeah, right. Or at least be presentable. I don't know. We got to throw in Samoan, or what is that his name?
Yeah, throwing Samoan, Jordan Ta'amu. So
that's awesome.
We got this.
That's still the best. That's still the best nickname by far. Real quick, too. What do you think about the commentary? I actually liked it. Greg McElroy, especially in the original game, and then what's his name?
Joe
Cladden's second game. I was pumped.
Yeah,
I was really happy with
the
that.
Fox games.
Yeah, I was really happy with that.
The commentary was good. They do talk a lot of the spreads and everything, which I find is interesting.
Yeah, it's like the Vegas thing where they're like, yeah, see this? They're favored by 9.5, and they're not covering.
All that's it's just everything's really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. We'll obviously, as the time goes on, we see the playoffs and all that kind of stuff as we kind of the season shakes out. We'll definitely keep everybody updated. All right. After the break, we've got a Merkzone Mock Draft, one for the ages. We're going to hit this mock draft extremely hard, going to super big depth because there's a lot of stuff happening. And then, of course, we're going to talk the big talk, especially in the Detroit sports world, the Andre Drummond trade. Why it's good, why it's bad, why you should love it, why you should hate it. All that after the break. Stick around. And welcome back to part 2 of episode, what are we on, 63, I think?
I don't know, you keep track.
I know, time flies when we're having fun. All right, let's just jump right into the Merkzone Mock Draft corner. We're going to go super in-depth today. We got a lot of news regarding the number 2, number 3, number 5 picks, potentially. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But first, let's go over the mock draft that Mike has found. He's pulled it up on his phone for us. Tell us, Mike, where is this mock draft coming from and when was it written?
This is from draftsite.com. They update it very regularly, actually.
All the news that comes out every day?
They updated it on Friday, February 7th.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
so this is 2 days ago from our recording time. Probably about 3 to 4 days from when you're hearing this, if you hear it. On the first day of release.
Yep.
So
Monday, 7 a.m.
Monday, 7 a.m. But some people don't listen on Monday at 7 a.m.
I know.
They might listen on like Tuesday, so
that's fine too. That's okay. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever you want to listen to it. Go back, listen to our archives. All good content, I promise.
Okay. So we will start off. I'm just gonna say I haven't seen a single draft in this one, or a trade in this one.
Okay.
So they all are straight up.
Okay, so number 1.
Number 1 and 2, I think we can pretty easily look over.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow and Chase Young to Cincinnati and Washington stays very constant.
Okay, cool.
Number 3, Lions will select.
I'm gonna keep saying Okudah until they prove me otherwise.
Yes, and you were correct.
All right, yeah, I'm betting like 1,000 on these so far.
You are, because it doesn't change much.
I know.
You really want Jeffrey Okudah.
Yeah, they really like it. I know, and the reason why, guys, once again, is the fact that he plays a lot of man-to-man coverage at Ohio State, right? He was their best cover guy. Lions run a lot of man-to-man. He's probably the best corner in the draft too. Yeah, so you look at a point of need like that. They've never really had a true number 2 corner in a really long time. Especially if they extend Slay. That seems like an obvious pick. Let's take a pause here real quick here. Actually, let's go through 4 and 5, and then we'll talk here.
So number 4, the Giants will pick. I'm gonna have you guess on this. I'm just gonna tell you. It's not easy.
I know. Is it a tackle? Is it one of the tackles?
It's a defensive guy.
Oh, it's a defensive guy.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, oh, jeez. All right. I'm going to say Derek Brown out of Auburn, just because I feel like they need defensive line help. They don't have anybody on the D-line, so...
Yes. Well, you are actually incorrect. You're not betting 1,000 on this anymore. They pick your man, Isaiah Simmons, out of Clemson.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm going to be real honest. I think that pick, right, and especially if there's any trades happens before the draft, right, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but... after the combine, I know this dude's going to tear up the combine. I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that he's not going to go out there and blow every number out of the water.
Yes.
I think as far as his bench, as far as his reps, as far as his 40 time, his coverage, all that stuff, I really think that he's going to be a true guy. Everyone's going to go, yeah, he's a first round prospect, to being, yeah, he's a top 10, top 5 pick. I really think that's what the combine is going to do for Isaiah Simmons. So it's a great pick for the Giants. They need help everywhere.
Yeah.
I still think wide receiver is going to be extremely hard for them to pass up. Just because you have Saquon, you have Danny Jones. I think you need more weapons for him. And I think that in the spot that you're in, I know that you're kind of in a spot where it's like take best player available.
Yeah.
So whatever your best player available is, if that means it's Isaiah Simmons, no doubt. But Jerry Jeudy staring you in the face like that, it's going to be really hard to pass up.
Yeah. The only thing you can argue is this draft is so
deep
that you could probably get one guy in the 3rd round.
For sure, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
And then number 5 is Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback out of Alabama.
Does Herbert go 6 to the Chargers?
He does not.
Wow, what's number 6?
Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle out of Georgia.
Really?
Yes.
So you're going to protect nobody. Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right, let's talk here real quick, though. You said Tua's going to Miami at 5, right? Now, we've heard some rumblings over the past couple days of 2 very different scenarios, folks, and this will make Lions fans happy. Honestly, either way. We've heard some reports that Miami has been in deep conversations with the Washington Redskins over the number 2 pick. Now, pros of that obviously being, that means that they're probably going to take Tua Tagovailoa, which means that Chase Young, theoretically, would drop down to number 3, which I think everybody would presume. I don't think there's anybody in the Lions fan base that would be unhappy with that. Am I correct on saying that? Okay. Obviously, the only con to that is that anybody's trade down scenario where you maybe get an additional first, additional second. I've seen some mocks where they get a second and a third, or whatever. Those go out the window pretty much immediately. I think the Lions run up as fast as possible with the card unless they get, all right, we're going to offer you 12 first-round picks. I think somebody they trade out of that spot. So we could potentially get Chase Young, and if that scenario kind of materializes. The other scenario being that that some people have kind of said that that's not really the case with Washington, but they are hearing that some of these NFL insiders, we kind of have to take it as we get it, that they are talking to Detroit, that Miami's talking to Detroit about possibly trading to 3. Now, if that happens, right, you're trading down to 5, right, you're going to obtain a couple more picks, maybe another first, at least a second, right? Possibly more depending on what you're willing to do. That also means that the Lions have probably done a nice job of at least telling people or trying to hint that maybe Tua is on their draft board. That could possibly be a thing. Obviously, the drawback is Chase Young probably goes number 2 to Washington. And then you probably still have a shot, at least in this draft. Maybe Isaiah Simmons is gone, but Okudah is right there, right for the taking. Mike, in your opinion, based off of those 2 scenarios I proposed to you, which one would you rather have?
Well, I would prefer to have the trade down option and acquire more picks.
Okay.
Because I don't think you're just a defensive end away.
No doubt.
And I think if you can acquire 2 first-round picks or not 2 first-round picks, an extra first and a second, or maybe like 2 seconds and a third, or something in that ballpark, you get a couple more top picks. I think that you can fill out more of your rosters with Jeff Okudah as the first corner take, and then maybe you take a defensive lineman in the middle, and then in the second round you can maybe take a receiver or a defensive end or something. I think you can kind of fill out more of your team that way. But if you're super big in the Chase Young camp, I'm not huge into the Chase Young camp personally. Yeah. I would rather have Isaiah Simmons or Jeff Okudah over Chase Young. Yeah. But I mean, if it came down to
are you saying no? So we're clarifying, right? If at 3 Chase Young is there, so you say all 3 of those guys.
You take Chase Young no matter what. Okay. But like I would prefer.
Want to clarify.
Like I don't think I could sit here and say that. He's probably a transitional.
Yeah, right. He could be. That's what everyone is comparing him to, right? Yeah.
And I don't think that you can even get heat if you take him, because no matter what, you take him and he's a bust, you go, everybody
in the world was like, this dude's going to be legit.
Yeah.
How did you not see it? Yeah. Everybody else was like, I'll take him. So, yeah.
So, but my dream scenario as it stood ever since December 31st when the season ended was to try to trade down with anybody and multitude your picks, because I think Okudah or Simmons could be your guy, and if those are your guys, you can get them at 5.
Right.
Especially if Miami jumps and they go to 3 and those guys are taken.
And that is the one thing, right, is that you're in a weird spot, but you're in a really good spot at the same time, because you're almost got to be, it's one of those things to where I think Washington is a team that they're looking at and they go, yeah, we have a lot of issues, right? Especially on the offensive side of the ball. They don't have a great wide receiving core, right? I don't think they have a running back they're really thrilled with right now. I don't think Geis has done anything for them. I think Peterson's 40, so they got to be looking to upgrade there. Their offensive line isn't getting any younger. You lost Trent Williams, you're going to lose Donald Penn. I think if you think Haskins is your guy, then great, but you've got no weapons outside of Jordan Reed, who can never stay healthy. So a lot of different areas of need for Washington. Not saying the Lions don't have a lot of areas of need, but I think Washington is definitely a team that's looking to go, man, maybe we don't get Chase Young, but maybe we can get Derek Brown. And then we get Derek Brown, and then we get another first. We can go get a wide receiver or an offensive lineman or whatever the case may be. So if you're a Lions fan, all this is good news. No matter what scenario, either you're going to wind up with, quote-unquote, the top prospect in the draft outside of Joe Burrow, or you're trading down and getting more dart to the dartboard. And then everybody loves a trade down in Detroit. Everybody loves the idea of a trade down, right? But, I mean, is there in any way, shape, or form where you see the Lions taking Tua at 3? Or even say that for whatever reason they traded down and Miami does something weird and takes Herbert?
I mean, we absolutely could take Tua. I would not be opposed to taking Tua. I think anything right now is on the board because something is better than nothing. But I think the worst case scenario is if you're at 3 and no one's like calling you and you have to pick at 3.
Yeah,
I think that's the worst case scenario.
Yes.
Because I think that we value Jeff Okudah high, but we also value him at number 5 and 6.
Yeah,
also.
exactly. With an additional second.
There's no way Chase Young gets past the top 3.
No.
In any scenario, there's no way someone's either trading up to get Chase Young or he's going at 2. Yep. There's no way so he's only valued 1 through 3. We're sitting here going, we could trade with Carolina at 7 and probably still get Jeff Okudah, which is not good if you're going to pick him at number 3. Right. I mean, you can value at 7.
Oh, crap, yeah, right. Like, man, if we can get 7 and still get...
Or Isaiah Simmons has been put at number 9 to Jacksonville in a lot of our mock drafts. Yeah. So if you pick him at number 3, you could get him at number 9, that's an awful swing. That's 6 picks swing there. Right. So I think worst case scenario is staying at 3 and getting a guy that you could... realistically
if somebody were to trade up, they're still going to be there at that spot.
I think that's probably your worst case scenario. Yes. It's just not for the fact that you're picking Okudah at 3, but the fact that you could have the ability to trade down and get Okudah at 5, and then also get
it's all
wide receiver at 7.
It's all very good news for your Lions fans that these conversations are happening, because it shows to me that Miami desperately wants a quarterback, right? They go, okay, we're going to start this rebuild off the right way. We're going to go get a guy. We've heard rumors that Tua doesn't want to come to Detroit, which once again ain't no problem with me. But I agree. On your draft board, right? Is it Okudah at 1, right? And we talked about this before in previous drafts, off air, right? I liken it to the Eric Ebron draft where they took Ebron at 10, right? Where they said, I felt like the Lions at the time, different regime obviously, had Anthony Barr, Justin Gilbert, Eric Ebron. And as if you had an image to put it to an image to it, they had 3 magnets with names on them. Those are the 3 guys, and then everybody else was worst case scenario. Right? I know Aaron Donald was there. I get it. I understand. What I'm saying is that they had those 3 guys up on a board, and they said, "All right, whoever's here, we're gonna take them." Yeah. You know what I mean? Justin Gilbert went 8. Anthony Barr went 9. Ebron went 10. You know what I mean? I legitimately feel like that is what happened. Yeah. In this scenario, I do feel like it's a 3-guy race. I think it's Okudah, I think it's Simmons, and I think it's Derek Brown. In your opinion, on your draft board, who is the top prospect for you if you're Bob Quinn?
I would take... I gotta think of who I want more. I don't want... Derek Brown is on the 3rd for me. Yeah, me too. He's not there. Yep. I think it's a win-win almost either way. I don't think there's really a loss with because I think you do need that second linebacker to either put, because he's so versatile, he can play anywhere. Right. So if you get an outside linebacker in free agency, then you could just put him in the middle or vice versa. But you also really need a second.
Or you just like your linebackers. I've heard a lot of reports Lions like their linebackers, which is
so he's just a rotational linebacker. Right. Okay, even better.
Right. Just a playmaker.
If you have 5 linebackers, that's fun too. I would actually probably go Simmons only because I think with their defense, you could even put him at a high safety and have him come down and play a strong safety position.
You know who I liken him to a lot? Not from the way he plays, but his athleticism, was Jalen Smith. Yeah. Jalen Smith is fast. He's explosive. Even before the knee injury, right? At Notre Dame, he was fast. He was explosive. He could have been the first overall pick that year if he didn't blow out his knee. I like him a lot to that, just with the athleticism. He's going to run a 4.5 40, right? He's going to blow everything out the water. He's going to bench well. He's going to run well. He's going to do everything that you're going to want out of a prospect, right? Similar to guys I know Jerry Jeudy's going to run out of the gym. You know what I mean? You just feel like there's certain guys out there where you're just going to go, holy crap. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm hard to kind of disagree with you. It's all going to depend on what they do with Slay. Yeah. You know what I mean? In my mind, I think it's a 1A, 1B scenario. Yeah. I think Okudah is a little bit above just for me, only because, and that's coming from a guy who's very much cornerback to college or pro is a hard transition. Only because I don't know what's happening with Slay, and because if Slay's gone, you have no cornerbacks. Zero.
Well, that's the average.
Right.
If you get to the draft and after free agency, you don't get
And also, so I think the Lions like their linebacking core. I think they like Tavai at the middle. I think they like Christian Jones for whatever reason. I think they like Devon Kennard. He's the only guy really who was able to generate consistent pressure consistently throughout the year. Sure, he kind of came out at the end. So I think that in terms of need, I think cornerback is above linebacker,
but I think how the Lions
best player available.
I think how the Lions run their team though is I think Isaiah Simmons can play 4 positions.
You're absolutely right.
Can only play 1.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So like versatility wise, you can be like, okay, we need you here. Next year we need you at middle linebacker. Next time we need you at
cover tight end.
we need you to cover tight end.
Yeah,
like he can do all of that. Where Okuda's
selling me hard, Mike. I'm a guy that I already love.
I do that all the time. So yeah, I think Simmons is just hired based on hybrid.
For sure, absolutely. I really hope he goes in the combine. I hope he kills it. I really do. I think he's gonna. I think he's a guy that not enough people are talking about, and I think at least on my radar and on your radar here on the show, I think that he is a guy that if you're not talking about him, you really need to start talking about him. All right, who's the second round pick?
Our second round pick is interesting. It's a wide receiver.
Oh boy.
Want to take a guess?
No, there's so many that they could possibly take.
Henry Ruggs III, wide receiver at Alabama.
Done, sold, done. Because Ruggs is going to run a 4.3 40, and he's going to be fast. Put him in the slot, let him go straight down the field.
Yes.
Every play. Done, sold, love it. Absolutely love that pick.
Yes.
I would be doing if they were able to trade down, right, take Simmons, or if it's in this draft, right, if Simmons is gone, and they take Okuda, and then they go take Ruggs in the second round, done. Sold. Because even then, if you have an additional second for Miami or whatever, I am doing backflips on my couch.
Yes.
How many rounds is this mock anyway?
Oh, I go 7.
Okay, let's go third, and then let's move on to the round stuff.
So in the third round, we take an offensive tackle out of Kansas. His name is Hakeem Adinij. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
It's really long.
I love how you went like one syllable and then just went, screw it.
Yeah, I don't want to do it wrong. So. His name's Hakeem. He's offensive tackle out of Kansas.
Out of Kansas, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, see,
He's the guy.
Offensive line, I think, is going to be a need. I don't know what they're going to do with Glasgow, so that doesn't shock me necessarily, but I don't really know if I'd like taking guys out of Kansas. That's not,
I don't know.
The biggest. That's the biggest. It's not like, I'd feel better if it was Kansas State, because at least they play other teams. Kansas, who do they play?
They play the SEC. Don't they?
Do they play the SEC? Is Kansas in the SEC?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or, wait, let me check.
Yeah.
I got to fact check now because Rob's making me fact check myself.
I just feel like, but Kansas is terrible.
Let's see.
So they're like...
They are.
Like,
well, they're always like, let's see, SEC.
Except for that one year, they were really good. The one single season. It was like them and Missouri were like the top 2 teams for a while. It was weird.
Let me look. You go to the draft thing.
All right. That's something for offshore.
I gotta find them.
Okay.
The ACC.
They're not. Yeah, there you go. That might make sense. That's why. But anyway, all right. Les Miles is coaching there. All right. Let's talk the Andre Drummond trade, though. Okay. A great job as always with the Merkzone Mock Draft. But let's talk Andre Drummond. He is no longer a Detroit Piston. He is a Cleveland Cavalier as of a couple days ago. It was something that people felt maybe wasn't going to happen. There was reports even earlier on at the end of the trade deadline that he was probably staying, and then all of a sudden he's traded. He's traded for Brandon Knight, John Henson, and a 2022 second-round pick. So basically a ham sandwich, a pair of socks, and...
my favorite pair of socks,
and a throw at the dartboard, right? And consequently, right, Andre Drummond has already decided to opt in to his player option with Cleveland, basically saying, let's see what happens kind of thing. But, Mike, just give me your overall thoughts on the trade. We had a lot of different rumors swirling around the team. Marquise Morris was a guy, or was Marquise Morris? Marquise Morris was one of the guys they thought maybe could go to a contender. Luke Kennard and going to the Suns possibly could have been a thing. That fell apart. Derrick Rose, we talked about that on the show, where he could have possibly gone somewhere. Christian Wood was asked about by at least Boston, I know for a fact. So a lot of different guys, I think even Langston Galloway could have been a guy. There was a contract buyout being thought of for Reggie Jackson. That hasn't happened yet. A lot of different scenarios for the Pistons. And yet the one domino to fall is Drummond going to Cleveland. Thoughts on the trade?
I thought it was a good trade only because I did not want him here anymore. And my fear was that if he stayed, he would opt back in for another year,
right,
and you would just be in more trouble than you would if you just got rid of him for nothing.
Right.
So I think this trade, you can't look at the trade going, wow, you didn't get anything for him.
Right.
And you can't really look at it like that. It's more of, we got rid of somebody that we didn't want anymore.
Right.
So I think it was like good. It's like when you trade like a guy for a 7th round pick, you're just trading him to like.
Right.
We
and
don't want
let's just
anymore.
see maybe if we can turn the 7th round pick into
something.
Right.
We can mix it with a 7th and a 3rd to get a guy or a second round or something.
Right.
But it's just one of those like we're just trading you. So, like, you can't opt back in with us. Because now he opted back in with Cleveland.
Right.
So now Cleveland has to deal with his $28 million contract.
Right.
And they can't sign anybody or do really anything.
Yep.
While the Pistons over here can maybe go find an avenue to get somebody.
Right.
In free agency or next year.
And here's the thing, right? And now I've heard some people who are against the trade saying, well, they didn't get enough back. They didn't get any young asset available. And I agree with that. That in the ideal world, right, that we could have found a guy or found a team that would have been like, all right, fine, we'll give you a 1st round pick for Drummond. However, was never going to happen. Like Mike just said, $28 million this year, $28 million player option the next year, right? No one's going, even if he didn't opt in with Cleveland, why in the world would Cleveland or any other team trade away a future asset for a guy who may only be here for another couple months, or only a year and a half from now, or he's going to cost me all this money? It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And 2, any contender that maybe wanted to trade for Drummond, guess what they don't have? Future assets, more than likely.
Yeah.
They're all gone. Look at LA. It's all in New Orleans right now.
Yes.
The Clippers, it's all in name a team. You know what I mean? It's in wherever. You know, it's in Oklahoma City for the Paul George stuff. So you look at it and they go, the teams that are truly looking to win a championship right now aren't in the salary cap space available to give up $28 million worth of contracts to bring a guy like Drummond on. And they don't have the assets even to give you, if you're the Pistons, to go, all right, this makes sense. They don't have a young guy. They're always picking at the back end of the draft. They ain't getting nobody of any sort of relevance. You know what I mean? And you're absolutely right. The opt-in thing, it's not so much about what he did for us. It's about what him leaving allows the team to do. And now, I mean, let's take a look at that too, because this is the first time in a long time where the Pistons are going to go in with salary cap freedom a little bit. Right now, what I'm not meaning to say is that they're going to go and sign Anthony Davis next year. That's not going to happen. Either in no way, shape, or form would Anthony Davis ever come to Detroit. It's not a thing. But 2 things. Number 1, doing this move allows you to at least try. That's number 1. You at least get the opportunity to go, hey, maybe we can offer something to you, right? Whatever that may be. Number 2, what it also allows the Pistons to do is it allows them to take on bad contracts. What I mean by that is that if you're a team like a Milwaukee or whoever that's trying to make a run and you need to get so-and-so's contract off your books because you want to trade for a superstar, the Pistons can be that 3rd team on that trade value where they take back a bad contract, but you know what also comes along with that bad contract? A 1st round pick. And that's the part that I think that the Pistons are setting themselves up for, is allowing themselves to then get their own young asset by getting another throw. And if they're going to be terrible, then you're going to have your own 1st round pick, which hopefully is a lottery pick if they keep losing, along in future years to get other teams' 1st round picks. So you're loading up on this young talent. You already made the mistake of kicking this can down the road by trading for Blake Griffin. It was a terrible decision. Van Gundy tried to save his job. It was a bad time. But you're losing Reggie Jackson after this year, right? That's more money off the cap. You're no longer paying Josh Smith's stupid buyout thing that they did for $5 million. Langston Galloway might be gone next year. You might be saving some money there. Markieff Morris has a 3.3 player option. He may not opt in. There's a lot of cap to be had, and you got a lot of young guys getting a lot of time. You know, Christian Wood, you're going to see what Thon Maker is going to be like. You're going to see if Sekou can do something. You're going to see if Kennard is part of your future or not. Lots of flexibility. If you want the Pistons to be good at any time in the next 5 to 10 years, then this needs to happen. You need to break it down. You need to stop, because I think we both agree they're in purgatory right now. They're not good, but they weren't bad with Drummond, right? A fully healthy team, I felt like, and I've been very vocal about this, I think they could have gotten a 4 or 5 seed in the East. I think they could have done that if they were all healthy. I really do. It may have been tough, but I think they had the potential to do it. But even with that being said, even if they win a playoff series, they're not beating Milwaukee, and they're not beating the 76ers, and they're not beating Boston. So I don't really know if they beat Toronto either. Like there's some teams that they could. But my point being is that I felt like they could at least have made some sort of semblance of a run, but their ceiling was division round. You know what I mean? It was the first round, maybe semis. Yeah. So after that, you didn't have anything else, and there's no way you're beating the Lakers or the Clippers anyway. Yeah. So in all that, right, you got to tear it down. And if you're going to do it, now is the time to do it. When you know there's 4 or 5 teams in the NBA that nobody else is even coming close to touching, now is the time. Break it down. You're not like Atlanta. You don't have that premier superstar guy you're trying to pair somebody with Trae Young. You got a whole bunch of young dudes that you're trying to see what you have. If Christian Wood is a guy who's a baller, sign him. Done. 4-year deal. I'm all for it, right? If you like Sekou, cool. Kennard, cool. Right? Let Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin keep you afloat for a little bit. As these young guys grow, I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on the trade here before we go off air?
I mean, like I said, I liked it, and I think they are in purgatory, and it's going to be tough to get out of it, but
it's right, and that's the thing, right? And that's the ideal, right? Is that it's the Pistons. What are you gonna do? This is what they needed to do. Yeah. They needed to do something like this in order to kickstart something else. They're gonna be bad. They just lost the Knicks on Friday. I get it, all right. But with that being said, if they lose, that means they get a higher chance of a higher pick, which means they can go get a guy that maybe is a transcendent talent, right? Maybe they would get LaMelo Ball or whatever his name is.
They put the one ball in that they're going to hit, and maybe they'll come out with that number 1 overall pick.
I think they're projected right now to have like the 8th pick right now or something like that. Right. I think I saw in a mock draft they took a point guard out of North Carolina. But point being is that the point is that you've got an opportunity now to do things to tear this down and to rebuild it, and to get out of salary cap hell that you set yourselves up for in the past 2 regimes, whether it was Dumars or with Van Gundy. They did it twice, and they managed to kick themselves in the nuts twice because of it. Now is a time where you go, listen, you have the coach, right? I don't know if Stefanski's the answer, but at least you can say, hey, what if now we have an opportunity now, at least have flexibility, have an option to say, hey, there's a guy like Al Horford out there. Maybe we could have signed him. Yeah. But now you couldn't because of your salary cap problems. Now you can. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of it. So don't be upset. Embrace the tank, and let's do this the right way. The Wings are doing it the right way. They're sucking. Yeah. Really, really bad. The Tigers suck. Really, really bad. They're all doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. But hopefully the next 5 years we're talking, man, Pistons, Eastern Conference Finals, where we at? You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. It could be a thing. We don't know. It's blowing my face. LeBron's got to retire somewhere, right?
No, he just keeps going.
Keep going, I know. Anyway, all right. That's going to be it for this week's episode of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. Remember, once again, live every Monday, 7 a.m. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube show, as well as where you listen to your favorite podcast. We are there. Make sure to subscribe to us there. Like I said, Monday, 7 a.m. Wednesdays, 7 a.m. is when the YouTube show goes live. For the Whaleman, for the Merkzone, I'm the Muff Michigan, and we will see you guys, as always, next time.